Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Esther, and I'm the Operations Manager at RCS Professional Services. Some of you may already know, but for those of you who don't, we are an IT service provider servicing small and medium-sized businesses across the United States, and we're super excited to be here today with two of our amazing leadership, Norman and Jeffrey from RCS. So before I get going and give a little brief intro, just a little bit of housekeeping. We would love to hear your questions, feedback, comments. So just use the little control panel on your screen to let us know if you have a question and or to chat anything into the questions box, and we'll make sure to address all of them either throughout the webinar or at the end. Today's topic is all about remote work, super relevant, super exciting. You're going to hopefully walk away with a lot of tidbits on how to best manage and be more productive with you and your remote workforce and your staff, and we all want to be more productive and do more in less time. I know I do. So super excited about this, and it's just going to be a great hour together. So thanks so much for joining us, and welcome Jeffrey, Norman.
Yes, thank you. Hey, thank you.
So the first thing I want to talk about and get your insight in is just what's going on today. Obviously things are a little different, or maybe you'll tell us how so in 2022 and 2021, coming off of this amazing year of excitement. So welcome to wherever we are is sort of the title we'll give it. And what do you guys think about current trends and what's going on in our environment today?
Yeah, I think, I partly came up with this, but what we're noticing in the market is, first of all, we had some deals that we're potentially hopefully winning and have one already, where clients are coming up to us and like, we're starting a company and there's no office. So great. So that's one trend that's happening. And then obviously the work from home or coming to the office, not every day, some days. That's something we dealt with in 2020 to be able to work remotely. But now that it's becoming a permanent thing, what do you kind of have to have in place to optimize it? So I think those are two of the things that I'm personally seeing. One is, I'm starting a company, we don't have an office. Two is, we're transitioning to an officeless environment. And three is, hybrid is here to stay. I think the least common of the four is, I'm coming to the office every day, at least for where we are. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, so I'm seeing the same thing. And for us, it's a different experience. For us as IT people, it's a different experience having to support this. It used to be, great, people come into the office, and I know where everyone is. I know where all those computers are. I can deal with all that. And now we've got a different situation where people are at home, and yeah, that's what we're seeing. People all over the place. It's not even like, oh, I'm looking to hire someone and I'm looking in my area. Our clients aren't even bothering anymore. They're like, oh, we hired someone in, I don't know, Idaho. Okay, great. We're going to support them.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm seeing out there. And in 2020, it was how we get our people to work remotely. It was like a whole emergency thing. And now we're looking at optimizing it. We're really trying to, do it in the right way where it's efficient and safe. And that's part of what we're going to talk about.
Perfect. Thank you. So that actually leads right into our first topic. What I actually want you guys to do for us is sort of walk us through the process of you hire someone, you bring someone in, then you have to manage them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So first step, you hire somebody. Now what? What does that look like, and how do we make it work?
Yeah, so, well, you've hired somebody. Now you've got to, let's start with getting that guy a machine, right? So you need the machine to work on. How are we going to deal with this? We've got a couple of choices. One, we can let the guy work on his home machine. We know how, who knows what's going on with that home machine? Oh my God, these kids are downloading stuff on it. This other person's doing stuff. There was 3 viruses to begin with before we even got there. It's not powerful. There's all kinds of issues with that. So, not thrilled.
But and we've taken with like the whole support lens, right? Like where it's like, we just don't want to have what we call tickets when someone calls us to request support. It's like, you want as little of that as possible when you're doing business, right? You want your employee to be able to work, do their thing, run their program, check their email. All of a sudden, it's like, well, my computer at home has no camera, or whatever it is. Once you start with the computer at home, it could be problematic. Yeah. So the first thing we generally deal with is getting them the right stuff, like and the whole procurement process, I would say, like just having the office manager or CFO or controller go on Amazon and buy something, it's got complicated, right? You got display ports and USB-C and 3 and this and that. It's like, nothing is easy. It got harder.
Yes, they just made it harder and more complicated.
Yeah. So I think standardizing a procurement process with a central procurement, role holder, be it someone internally who knows, product or managed service provider or a CDW, whatever it is, right? Someone should be recommending the right stuff for what the user needs so that they're off and running for the races. But then you gotta set it up.
No, then you gotta actually get it. And
Right.
this, I wish we could pull like Jack onto this call because he would tell you how hard it is to get products. Things are still constrained, and
Yeah.
I can't believe that like what is it, a year, how long later we're still seeing constrained on constrained on parts. So so it's having someone like Jack is great. Figures out where Jack is like one of our procurement guys, Jack and Chloe, and they're great at figuring out, okay, this is the machine. Let's get that, and let's get that to the person.
So I think that's an important part of the process. We agree on that, right?
Yeah. Okay. And then there's a decision between laptops and desktops, which is the age-old decision. But for our clients, like we had a client, remember when lockdown happened, they happened to have had laptops. So they called us like, can we just take the laptops and go? And we're like, well, they took the laptops, went, and it was great. They were fully cloud, and it was fine for them.
Right.
So
that was awesome. Yeah, they happen to be, and we'll talk about this, a cloud-only company, everything in the cloud, company-issued devices, meaning, not using your home computer, not using whatever. And then the pandemic happened, and they just took their laptops, went home and worked. Like, we didn't get a single call. Other
I
clients,
don't think we had a single call.
other clients
Other
had
than saying, is this possible?
desktops and on-prem infrastructure. It was like a whole, fire emergency.
Yeah. And the other nice thing you get with a laptop is there's already a camera built in,
Correct.
right? So the desktop, it's like, oh, now I got to get the guy a camera. It's got to get connected. It's got to get set up. There's all kinds of issues
I
there.
think if you have them working from home, you want them to have, even though it is a laptop, you want them to have 2 monitors, the wireless keyboard. You need that, right? Would you agree on that?
Yeah, so that's okay. That's Chloe's setup. She's got multiple monitors, and it's different for different people. Like some people want that desktop. I'm not totally okay with it. If you really want that desktop at home, like I live in a small farm, I don't have room for this thing. But
So we got the procurement. It comes into play. The whole work from no office thing. You want to get the right stuff. You want to get the right recommendations. You want to get the right products for users to be productive.
Right. Another concept is VDI and virtual machines.
Right.
We have a client like this, which is great. When they get a new guy, we spin up a new virtual machine for them in the cloud, and that thing is set up the way they need it. The person who got hired, they remotely connect to that machine in the cloud, and it's great because we know exactly what's going on with that machine. We know how much resources it has. We know what software is on there. We can manage it. It's great, and it's an easy setup for them and everybody else.
Yeah, that is nice. And then that one, you don't so much have to get. Can you use home computers with that?
Yep.
Because it's a virtual machine somewhere in the cloud, wherever that is,
Right.
and you're just connecting to it. So it doesn't matter what you use. The two aren't really touching each other.
And they don't transfer data between each other, which is key because that the virus that's on that home machine is not affecting that office machine.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying.
And then, okay, so should we keep going? Because you got to set up the machine now.
So you got to set up the machine to get them.
What does that look like a little bit? Tell us a little bit more about how the machine setup might be different now than prior. What that setup process looks like.
Yeah, this is where there are certain technologies that happen to have been around, which suddenly became super important. And one of them is Microsoft's Autopilot. It's great. It allows us to buy a machine, send it straight to the user. Okay, we didn't touch it. Send it straight to the user. The user gets it, logs on with their username, password, which is their email address and their password. They're like Microsoft email address and password. And it goes through setting up the machine on the spot. So it came straight from the manufacturer with a blank machine with an operating system. The user gets it, they log in, it sets itself up. It installs software. It sets up profiles on there. It installs third-party software, not just Microsoft software. So that's one way of getting a machine set up, which is great. Yeah. The other ways we do it are, we'll ship it to us first, right?
Yeah.
Ship it to us.
There's enough lead time. Now you have this lead time situation. So it comes to us, we set it up, configure it for the user, and ship it to them, which if you have enough time works, it's great. And you know, you kind of need a provider for that when you have no office, because now all of a sudden you're shipping boxes to people's wherever.
Yeah.
How do you configure it? And then the other one is we send it to the user, remotely connect and set it up, right?
Yeah.
So of all three, the first one.
Yeah, obviously, Autopilot's the best. We don't have, it's great.
Right.
Oh, and it's not like you set up Autopilot per machine. You set up Autopilot for your organization, and you say, okay, this is the marketing profile. And when you buy that machine, you basically put it into, you know, in there as, oh, this is me a marketing machine. Great, the marketing person logs on, and boom, the whole thing sets itself up. It's safe.
So just to elaborate on that, so most of our clients, this is Microsoft specific, we also have clients on Google, but most of our clients have, let's say, Office 365. So they already have a login and a password. And what's happening in the back end is when they log into that computer for the first time, it's a Windows machine, so it's Windows, Microsoft talking to Microsoft. It knows, like, you ever see that? Do you have a work account or a school account? So you put your work account in, and then us being IT say we want John to get Dropbox, OneDrive, install this printer and access to this file or system and these shortcuts on their browser so that they can get to their programs. When they log in, after we define those policies, boom, everything happens and we can remote control the computer once that process is done, right?
That's right.
So they turn on the machine, put their email address in, they watch Windows is setting up for a half hour, 2 hours, however long it takes, depending how complicated we made it, and they're working. Everything's on there.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and then, okay, now back to cloud, because you're going to hear us say cloud a lot on this webinar, because really, cloud is where it's at. Why? Because it just gives you so much flexibility. And in this case, if everything's in the cloud, well, there's not all that much stuff that actually needs to be done on that computer anyway. Just the person just needs to know where to go. Oh, I'm using QuickBooks Online. Great. Here's the URL for QuickBooks Online. I'm using HubSpot. Here's the URL for HubSpot. It's great. So everything is saved in the cloud and not on any specific machine. So it makes machine setups very easy.
Awesome. So Jeffrey, Norman. Oh,
And then so on that, right? So here's the thing, right? You hire somebody and you send them an email and it says, okay, these are the things we use, right? And these are the addresses. Let me tell you what's going to happen with that email. It's going to get lost very quickly, right? They're not, oh, and then you get the call. What's the address for that service again? So what we have, and there's all of like the major whatever, like Google and Microsoft have this, is when we log on to our Office portal, portal.office.com, on the top left side, there's a bunch of icons, and in there are things like use ConnectWise. So there's an icon for ConnectWise. I don't have to remember the address. I just click on the icon and I go. We have Adigy. We click on Adigy. It takes us to Adigy. Not only does it take us to Adigy, it actually signs us in also because of SSO, which we did an awesome webinar on because SSO is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, HubSpot, our phone system, the go-to applications, it's all great stuff.
Right. So then,
awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so now after you got your IT guy or RCS or whoever the whiz is who sets up all your stuff and you got it and the end user has it. By the way, procurement was one of my first jobs at RCS, so I can definitely understand the intricacies of the process and how that works. But now it's time to get to work. So talk to us about communication, collaboration, productivity, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things we encountered when the pandemic started, and we were really all at home, we were actually hiring. We were fortunate enough to be hiring, and we hired, like Norm said, all over the country. And now you have to train someone that's not 2 inches away. It's a little bit, yeah. So what did we do? Like,
there was a lot of, it's all about video conferencing at that point. Right. A lot of, actually did a number of things. For us, we did a number of things, but one is video conferencing. Things like a Teams meeting, a video meeting, a Slack video meeting, a Zoom video meeting. was great because I can see the guy, right? So there's that personal aspect to it. I can share my screen, so I can show a person something as they're going through it. And, you know, it's not like I'm sharing slides. I'm sharing actual, like, video, like me actually doing video, me actually doing things. And furthermore, I can see that person's screen, so like walk them through on their own screen, and I can control that screen if I need to.
Right.
So all of that was just so key for us to be able to train somebody. And then we have the idea of, you know, listening on phone calls.
Yeah, so I mean, for us, like the big thing was we hired someone. Now we trained actually on procurement, which does have some intricacies, not as easy as it sounds. Where do you buy something? What website you go to? How you buy it? You know, our processes for making purchase orders. You know, this is not something that someone walks in off the street and just knows. You really have to show them. So I think what you're saying was huge in terms of teams using a platform like that. You know, the instructor being able to say, let me take control of your computer. Video, like you said, screen sharing. But the biggest one you didn't mention that I love is recording.
Oh, yes.
So so many complex but intricate processes that are inside our organization and every organization. You know, when a transaction happens, how you sell something, how you buy something, how you build them, how you this, how you that. You know, when the instructor was showing them, we recorded all the sessions so that when the second person came in, we could just tell them, watch these series of recordings, right?
Yeah, that was
huge.
Yes, key.
Huge. So I think those tools were huge in the training aspect, and having those libraries and the communication capabilities was huge.
We actually did something similar. Some of you may have seen for webinars. We made a little library of webinars, and you know, we can go back in and refer to things. And up on our YouTube channel, we have all our webinars, which is exactly where this is going to go, and on our website. So similar idea, but it works great for training. So what are we working on? Talk to us about any business apps or things that we want to look for or use when we're working.
You want to go with this? Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to short circuit you a bit on this one, but I want to talk about now the guy's out there, he's working, he's ready to work. How are we going to talk to the guy? How am I keeping in touch with this guy in Idaho?
Right. So yeah, communication is huge, right? We just spoke about Teams and how you could use it to one-on-one training and screen sharing and controlling. But yeah, I mean, communication is everything, right?
It used to be phone and email, right? But in this age of people all over the place, I used to not see the reason for chat.
Yeah.
Like when we sat in the office, it was like, why are you chatting? Why just talk to me? Why are you chatting?
Right.
But now it's become so key for us, like, because we're all over the place. Yeah, so chat, like Teams, Slack, so key.
It's impossible to do off this list without it.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
you're gonna lose money quickly. So yeah, I think.
And then on there, a meeting. So like, okay, for us, what's happened to me is I'm on a lot more calls these days, and so it's harder to get. Like, if I need to talk to you, it's harder to get your time because, well, you're on a lot of calls and I'm on a lot of calls. So having meetings in Teams, Slack, Zoom has been great for us. We set a meeting. We set a daily meeting. We have, we set a meeting and we can get on and talk and see each other. So that bit of communication has been great for us also. And then as far as the phone system goes, great.
But so there's one school of thought on, is the phone system dead, which I pretty much think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's only on outbound communication or employee-to-employee calling, right? Because you have teams, and it's great. Like, let's say we're almost 30 people, thank God. But what if you're 100 or 200 and you want to call John? How do you call John? You have to have his number, the company spreadsheet with the thing.
With his cell phone number.
You just type John. He's there already. No one had to set him up. You got him when he got his email account. You call him, you text him, whatever it is. So I think that thing is huge. But then we're on inbound a lot, right? So our clients are constantly calling us for any support issues. You still need a phone number.
Yeah.
They can't necessarily, they're not set up to Teams you right
I'm
now.
still a fan of the phone system. There's a lot of good in there.
So then when we set up the Teams phone system, I mean, that was the bomb, right? Like our clients were calling us, all the phones disappeared. You know, we're using our iPhones or our computers and the Teams app, and basically we threw away all our phones.
Yeah, so that's key.
Awesome.
When I'm working at home, I don't have a physical phone on my desk. The Teams app is on my cell phone, and when I get a call, it rings. We have, so
You use your computer, you can use your phone.
yeah, I have we use Teams and Drive. I have my Teams and Drive apps on both of my computers, on my phone, and I don't need a physical phone. In fact, we were testing a physical phone at one point because we just wanted to see the way the thing worked with Teams, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this thing by far. So the guys at the other office got no use for it.
We do have some clients now that don't have a phone system.
Yeah.
So I think it's dying, but if you're getting inbound calls from customers, then I think
Inbound and calling each other and
Yeah.
three-way and
I'm saying a phone number.
Oh,
917.
gotcha.
I don't know.
All right. Oh, so, okay, so now, sorry, back to you, Esther, as in, what's the guy not gonna work on? Resources and stuff. Here we go. Cloud is key.
So on the cloud concept, like we all know cloud, it's I don't think it's 10 years yet. How old is this cloud?
I think about Hurricane Sandy. Bigger than that date, that's what I think about. And that was like, there was very few people in the cloud at that
I don't
point.
know about
But
that.
that was what precipitated a lot. Really, so many of our Exchange servers went to the cloud right after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was definitely available a few years before that.
Yeah, I think it's like, it needs like a war, like a watershed moment to really push
Yeah.
things.
So there's that level of cloud, which is let me move my email to the cloud, let me move my files to the cloud. But then there's like this next level that we're seeing a lot of companies aren't taking advantage of, right? Like, what do you feel that is?
So you see, and I tell you, new young companies are great at this. They want to start a company. They don't think, oh, okay, I'm going to get a server and I'm going to get a database on that server. No, they think of the thing they need to do, and they find a cloud service that does it. Because they don't want to get infrastructure. Well, I want to get a server. I want to get it all that. Just let me stay light and lean, and I'll get a cloud service. So you're going to hear this concept of software as a service, SaaS. You may have heard it at some point. But it's the idea that the app I want to run, I don't run on my computer. I just go to a web page and it's there. So examples like QuickBooks Online, Xero, HubSpot, our things like ConnectWise. There's 10 million of them. Yeah. Anything you think of, there's probably a SaaS application out there at this point. And great to look at.
There's the other side, which is the challenging situation for some clients, is we have some clients that are 20, 30, 40 years old, where there was no such thing as SaaS, software as a service, and they've built and grown these companies on these legacy systems, which are maybe SQL-based ERP systems for wholesale, for distribution, for whatever it is. So then what do you do if you want to go off this list? What do you do?
See, there's an answer for that too. There's an answer for everything in this age. So that's infrastructure as a service. And that's things like, I've heard these things, Azure, AWS. AWS is Amazon's thing. Google has a infrastructure as a service set up also. And essentially what you're doing is you're taking those servers and you're running them in the cloud. So that setup that you have in the office, there's a server that talks to a server, that talks to a front end, that talks to a database. Take all those things, you lift it, you put it into Azure, and now it runs on Microsoft's infrastructure instead of on your own infrastructure. What you get out of that is all kinds of things. One, you can adjust resources as needed. But really the most important thing is it's accessible from everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are, that's cloud. You're accessible from everywhere, which is great because that user's in Idaho.
Yeah, so you could forklift whatever's in your IT closet, if you still have one of those, and put it in a secure cloud, something like Azure, like Norm mentioned, and you basically go serverless. So no more hardware. You're just running your operating system on Microsoft's machine somewhere, and it rarely ever goes down. But you still need to architect it, build it, and design it. And it's not easy peasy like software as a service, right? Where you just put your credit card in, you can start working.
Right, that's software as a service. You just sign up and you're good. This you do, there is some building there. So if you were building, your setup in your office, just in the cloud. Yeah.
That's a perfect segue into the next thing I want to talk about. And there's some great questions coming in, so hang in there. We're going to get to them shortly. Just a couple more questions for the pros here, and then we'll get to all your questions as well. But so you mentioned this paperless sort of scenario, and obviously a lot of people are talking about this digital era and the future and all digital. So what, if any, do we need to look out for in regard to data? And you touched on some of this already, but is there anything else you guys want to bring up as far as the paperless office, the digital age and all that, and knowing where your data is and how to control it in a non-physical office environment?
Yeah, it's a really good topic because
Paper.
Do we still need paper? I think we still need paper.
I'm still a little bit of a paper guy.
What's that?
I haven't printed something, I can't imagine how long. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about paper for a second. What do you need paper for? Right? Maybe you need someone to sign a contract.
Right.
Okay? Here we go, back to the cloud with the SaaS service. Signing a contract, you got guys like HelloSign and DocuSign. It's so much better than paper. That's the amazing thing. It's so much better than paper because you make your contract, throw it into HelloSign, you say it needs to be signed here by these people, and boom, it goes and it emails it to them, and it keeps track of the whole thing. It's legally binding. It keeps track of who signed what. It keeps the signed pages, keeps all of that. So for an example like that, yeah, great. Those it takes care of the need for printing. Totally. But it's still not those people that want to print.
Yeah, but we sign DocuSigns all the time. I'm sure many people have, but it's accessible to everyone. It's easy. It works. It eliminates a lot of paper. The other big one that I find is checks. People still printing checks, but there's solutions for that too. Like Bill.com, you can process invoices and submit payments to your vendors all without picking up a pen or a piece of paper. So there's stuff that you can do to just get rid of paper, right? But what about, sometimes someone's going to send you something that's not DocuSign. DocuSign's right, it's on the way out probably. What about scanning? Everyone needs to scan.
DocuSign's on the way out. He means you send it to someone else.
Well, sometimes you get it, but you can't control the get it side. But you still need to sign stuff sometimes and digitize it, right? And not everyone has a scanner at home. One cool tool I like is on the Dropbox app. Use Dropbox or OneDrive, or you can actually scan a document from those apps.
This is all on your cell phone.
Yeah.
I happen to use this all the time, not with that one, but with different, yes. I use this all the time.
Back to the hardware thing, sometimes people that are very paper centric, will get them some desktop scanners and stuff like that. But if you're signing something, a few pages a month, but you need that scanner, right? And the printer never works at home. The kids' homework is never simple. You can basically use those apps, which are free, not necessarily free, but you're probably paying for them already to scan documents.
Right, and it's like a shift in thought, because if I'm working in Idaho, right, and someone sends me something to sign and I sign it and I file it away, yeah, great. You just file it away in Idaho. It doesn't help me at all. But you have to get through that. You have to get to that thought of everybody needs access to this stuff. And if everybody needs access to this stuff, and we're all over the place, and we need to get it, we need to digitize it. And yeah, as far as actual physical paper goes, it's great. I open up my Office app or the Files app on your iPhone if you have iCloud, or Dropbox app, and you click scan, and you hold it over the thing, and it scans your document. It's great. You save it wherever you want it to go. And if you're a person that's scanning like 30, 40 pages at a time, you need a scanner. Well, then you get the personal scanner.
Yeah.
Right, because no one wants, I don't know, how old am I? I think of the flatbed scanner. No one wants that thing.
No.
You get these personal scanners. So like,
you shove the pages in, you press the button.
You press the button, that's it. It's on your computer. And then you make sure to save that to your cloud file storage. That's the key. Yeah. But going back to Bill.com for a second, it's that thinking of there's got to be a SaaS, there's got to be a cloud
Yeah.
application
There's
to
an app
deal
for
with
that.
the thing yes, there's an app for that. That's exactly it. There's an app for that. You look around, it's there. It's there.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Like, but if the guy does, okay, so let's look at this from the IT standpoint, right? The person does need to print in the end. I don't know what it is. Somehow they need to print. There's all kinds of legacy stuff. That's fine. So now I need to buy a printer and just send it to the guy, and then get on his computer and set it up and walk the guy through making the connection. It's not awesome. But there is another way around this, and things like Google Cloud Print, Microsoft's Azure Universal Print, which is not quite there yet, but they're getting there. But it allows you to take the printer, set it up in that user's profile. So this is the IT guys. Set it up in the user's profile, send that printer out to them, and it's automatically on their computer, which is awesome as far as IT goes, because it's all automatically on his computer. And you know what? When he switches out that computer for the next computer, it's automatically on the next computer. So yeah, there are ways to deal with that with printing.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up financials and data, because the one topic we haven't covered, and we've done 30 minutes here and we have to wrap up, and we can't not cover security. So talk to me about security in 5 minutes. Give us all the info.
Probably could go way longer than 5 minutes with everything going on in the world today, but I think this is where a lot of companies fall short. You could set up a cloud tenant pretty easily and get access to documents and email, and there's all these extra services and buttons and checkboxes and stuff that people just don't buy, right? They're not getting the right advice. We had a prospect call us the other day. Someone was camped into their Office 365 account, and they maliciously sent the wire. Poof, money's gone, right? But there's ways you can prevent that. You just need the right advice and to implement it. So what are some of those things?
Yeah, so in security, there's a couple of things. Let's think of it from two angles. One is user security, right? Making sure that things are okay with the user, it's not being impersonated, that user's okay. And then there's the idea of keeping there's people everywhere and they're on computers all over the place. Where's my data? I need to be able to keep my data in my company and not all over the place. So there's ways of dealing with both. And what Jeff is getting at, because we've seen this, is not quite click and you turn it on. There's configuration there. There's configuration and there's monitoring, and it needs to be taken care of. So as far as holding on to the data, there's DLP, data loss prevention. We did a webinar on that. It's on our YouTube channel. And that's the idea.
And how important is that on an office list environment? Right?
It's so
now you have
important.
laptops all over the world, all over the country, wherever they are. You got the data in the guy's house.
It's on his computer.
What if you say you can't work for us anymore, whatever, it didn't work out, or he wins the lottery, he or she. So now the data's on their computer, but you could do stuff about that, right?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, you can absolutely do stuff about that. In fact, for example, on our phones, our data, RCS data, can only be used because we live mostly in the Microsoft ecosystem. Our data can only be used on Microsoft apps on our phones. If you try to copy and paste something out of email, like Outlook email on my phone, into, say, I don't know, some other non-Microsoft software, like the Notes app, it'll paste, but you don't paste the words that say, hey, you can't paste that here because this is controlled by the company, which is key. So we're keeping
Confirm this.
our stuff in our data in our ecosystem. You can do this on the computers, on the mobile devices. You can do it on all these things, and it's so key, especially that idea of going back to whose computer are they using? Are they using their own computer? Are they using a computer we sent them? That's a company-owned computer. That's great, because then we can put it into an MDM, a mobile device manager like Intune, and really start controlling things. Things like whether it's encrypted, whether it has antivirus on it, whether it's got our data on it. Does it have our data on it? Do we need to delete that data off of that? Because maybe, I don't know, we're not getting that laptop back for some reason. We can do that. So not only am I saying this kind of data, you can't email it out, right? That's the DLP solution.
Can't copy it out.
But you can't copy it out, you can't share it out, you can't email it out, and there's like a number of different solutions that all come together to make this happen. But there's the data's out there, I can get my data back, which is great.
And you could restrict someone who formerly had access with the touch of a button, right?
Correct. Key. Yeah, and then as far as user security goes, there's all kinds of things. We did a webinar on SSO, single sign-on. I have loved single sign-on. It's great. I log on one place, it logs me on everywhere, but most importantly, it gives me security everywhere.
Security, and also what bothers us is tickets to the help desk, right? I don't know my password. Like here, it's one password. It just works. You're not going to get that call.
Yeah, it's a much better user experience, and it's a much better support experience also.
Yeah.
Things like MFA is key, multi-factor authentication, super important. Identity protection. Microsoft has stuff like this where they're looking at your logins and saying, did that guy just log in New York and then 10 minutes later log in London? That's impossible. You can't do that. We're going to flag that login. So there's stuff like that. And then, of course, antivirus and EDR. EDR, you're going to start hearing this one pretty soon because it's getting more and more important. You've got a computer. Again, you sent the guy a computer in Idaho, but if there's a problem on that computer, it's not like I'm in the office anymore and I can walk over to the computer and take a look at it as far as, oh, you might have a virus. No, the computer's in I don't know where. And EDR is a sort of thing where something might be happening on that computer that's not necessarily a virus. It could be some hacker's got a foothold. EDR is the thing that's going to catch that. And getting that data from that machine is key to knowing that's happening. So supporting these remote machines, things like EDR, becomes super important.
But it's not only EDR, right? It's the next thing, right? Like EDR is endpoint detection response or antivirus, a light version of that. So, but cyber insurance and all the things happening, there's going to be new stuff that are required to deploy to a computer. And if you do set it up with company-issued devices using management tools like Intune, like whatever it may be, that next thing comes out, we can just push it out to the machine, right? Having our tools and all that stuff. So if you don't have that, how are you going to round up cats like all over the country and say, I need to get on your computer to load X and Y and Z? If you don't have that in place, you're wasting a lot of time and money.
Oh my God, yes. The herding cats thing of, oh, we need to get on your computer. We need to get on your computer. Oh my God, brutal.
Yeah.
So guys, I know there's more to say about this, and please, everybody's listening, reach out, with questions. We can go more in depth, just not on this webinar because we have some great questions coming in. We must get to them, but just one or two more things I want to make sure that we touch on. It's first of all, just how the hybrid setup might look now with a lot of people going back to the office or having, like you said, people in the office and out. And what about tracking how people are working? And what if they need support, right? Like old days, you can just tap them on the shoulder. Hey, Norman, help me out here. The organization is not letting me copy my data from my email to LinkedIn. So what can you do to help? So now we can't really do that, right? So how does that give us in 2 minutes or how that looks? I know it's a lot, but.
A number of things. I work on a computer at home and I work on a different computer in the office. I've got everything set to sync from my computer, those two computers, my browser settings sync, my Windows settings sync, my files sync. I've got stuff turned on that if I mistakenly drop something on my desktop, don't say stuff on your desktop, it's never going to be there again, but if I mistakenly drop something on my desktop, it shows on my desktop in the office. So I've got everything synced. As far as supporting users, this is where it becomes key to know what's going on. It's not like I can walk around the office and say, oh yeah, that guy, Jim, he's got a problem. No, a ticketing system is key, and that's key for us, having our ticketing system, which takes in all of the things that are going on, everything we need to keep track of as far as support tickets, and having that available to see what's going on and deal with them. And then of course, RMM. No, forget the RMM. Let's talk about the help desk a second, because having a help desk is super key on this one. Because at this point, again, IT can't walk around. It's not in the office. There's no thing to walk around the office. And so having a help desk to call or, send tickets into is great. And then for us, we've got what's known as RMM, which is remote monitoring and management software. We can we can see what's going on with all the machines out there, as in like, oh, the hard drive's getting full, stuff like that. And we can get onto all of those machines out there, so we can remotely control them and troubleshoot them as needed. I don't have to go and call the user and say, hey, can you go to this website and put in this code? No, we've got access to those machines. So between a ticketing system, oh yeah, patch any key. So between a help desk, a ticketing system, an RMM, great for supporting the users. And as far as monitoring a user, right, the guy's out there is the guy working. There's software for that because there's an app for everything. You got guys like ActiveTrack that it can show you exactly what's going on with that computer and give you metrics about things like idle time and what he's doing, and is he on the web, and stuff like that. Where was he going on the web? It's all fancy all kinds of stuff.
We spent this much time on CNN, this much time in our programs.
Right.
But I think having a help desk and a ticketing system is a non-negotiable when you have no office, because you need to control support issues and have full visibility and make sure no balls are dropped, because what's going to happen if the guy doesn't get help. It's just not going to work for a couple of days, and then when the COO calls and says, how come the reports aren't done? Well, my computer was broken and they never got back to me, right? No one wants to hear that. So I think that's enough.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying about reducing tickets. Like, it becomes so much more important to reduce tickets, because the guy runs into a problem at home. He's going to the kitchen, he's getting, he's walking away.
You want to minimize tickets,
Yes, absolutely.
The only way to do that is use these best practices, right? Single sign-on, MFA, company-issued devices, keeping stuff in the ecosystem, not outside, DocuSign, all these things, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of great. I guess it took everybody working at home to put a focus on all these great technologies. There's a ton of great technologies out there that if you use them right, have them configured right, it's going to reduce tickets. Great.
And I know there's also some softwares that you can use to monitor employees, right? We have some clients doing that as well. So we don't have so much time now to talk about it, but we can go more in depth on it offline if anyone's interested. So I want to just pause us here and take a few minutes to answer some questions. I know there was one that came in. I think it's from Avi. Avi, I'm going to unmute you, and you can go ahead and unmute yourself on the control panel and ask your question if you'd like.
Sure. My question was around Teams as a phone replacement. So, how are you guys seeing clients reacting to that, and how often do you see? I'm a little traditional myself. I'd like to see a physical phone on the desk, but how are you seeing computer issues causing interruptions in simple phone calls? Like, normally if you're taking an inbound call or whatever, and your computer's having issues, you could just, continue the conversation while you reboot your computer. That's no longer an option. Now rebooting the computer kills the phone call.
Great question.
Okay, good. I can take this. So the first thing to understand about when we say Teams as a phone, Teams is actually a regular phone system with phone numbers and normal calls. I can pick up, call any normal phone number like I would with any other phone system. It's not everything is a meeting or everything is, some sort of send the guy a link and get onto it. No, it's an actual real phone system with calling in and calling out. And then some of the great features about these VoIP systems, Teams, both Teams, GoTo, both of them, Jive being GoTo Connect, that's another phone system. Teams and GoTo both have this where you can, if I'm on a call on my computer, point to my computer because it's over there. If I'm on a call on my computer and I pick up the Teams, I open up the Teams app on my phone, it'll give me an option to switch over to that device. It actually gives me two options. Do you want to add this device, or do you want to switch over to this device? I do it constantly. I constantly switch between the two things so that I kind of rarely have problems with Teams on my computer. actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty reliable on Mac and Windows.
Yeah, so I can if I do need to, I can move from machine to machine without anybody noticing anything, and it just happens to be very reliable. I mean, over the years, this has gotten a lot more reliable over the years. It really have. And Teams, it works. It really, it does. It works. It works well.
I mean, you are a victim of the computer or the Wi-Fi or whatever your internet connection is. So it does have to work, but I've had good experience with it.
Yeah. Could your machine crash while you're on a call? Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
I've definitely heard it happening. I've definitely heard of.
More likely you're on a weak Wi-Fi somewhere, wherever you are.
Yes. Yeah.
Just a testimonial, we experimented with a few phone systems. We were using another one, switched to Teams, and we actually missed it when we left Teams and wanted to go back to it. So we use Teams internally. It's great. It's not only the calling, it's just the efficiency of having messaging and calls all in one place. It's beautiful.
It's great. And then you're on a call. If they answered on their computer, you can just start sharing. Oh, it's so great. I love it.
Beautiful. Efficiency, security, the whole thing, all in one. It's everyone's dream. So I hope that answered your question, Avi. If anybody else has questions.
If you really want to, you can absolutely use a desk phone. They make desk phones for Teams. Yes.
Good point.
It's got a regular screen with a display, and you'll know what's going on. It's not like the phones of old where I don't know how to make a conference call. Remember how hard conference calls used to be?
No,
Now it's great. Now you just click on the person and boom, it's a conference call. So yes, there are desktop phones that you can use and they work well.
You can be old school and get the new school benefits, I see.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Office use a phone. At least one of the guys in the Atlanta office uses a physical phone.
Oh, we got one of those. Sure, thanks for the question. So another question that came in is related to backing up users' home computers. I guess the person was asking about backing up home computers as opposed to like a work computer or device, and how that plays out.
No, that's my answer to you. No, everything belongs on the cloud. If you're going to save a file, make sure you save it to your OneDrive, to your SharePoint, to your Dropbox, to your Box. Make sure you saved it on there. I spent a lifetime telling people, if you save it, not where it's backed up. So it used to be, if you don't save it to the server, and in this case, you don't save it to your cloud storage, consider it done. And then everything else is on the cloud. You're using SaaS applications, you're using your database that we've lifted and put into Azure. All of that, your computer goes away, that's fine, none of it goes away, it's all sitting in the cloud.
So we're not backing up home computers.
No way.
That's not our. That's not our.
But yeah, as far as like, okay, you remember folder redirection?
I mean, they may not know what it is, but yeah.
So there's a technology with servers where you can say, because you can tell certain people, till you blue in the face, don't save something on your desktop and don't save it on their desktop. So Microsoft made a technology where you thought you were saving on your desktop, but that folder was actually on the server. And Microsoft's brought this into the cloud world where it's called known folder move. You turn this on, and all of the known folders in Windows 10, Windows 11, like your desktop, your My Documents, your My Downloads, that is actually, you're saving that all onto OneDrive. And when you go to another machine, it shows up on that machine in those folders.
There is one feature OneDrive has, where we don't generally implement before saving to the cloud, is OneDrive has some checkboxes where you could back up your desktop and documents for OneDrive. So that could be something you want to check out if you have Microsoft.
Awesome. So we're hitting the end of time here. If anyone has further questions, you're always welcome to reach out. You can visit our website, rcsprofessional.com, or email us at info@rcsprofessional.com, and we're happy to go further into anything. I know you touched on a huge topic earlier of cyber insurance. So next month, we just released our next webinar on February 24th. It's going to be all about cyber insurance, how to make sure you're covered, to know if you need cyber insurance, what to get. We're bringing in one of our small business partners who is a broker and have access to a lot of information and carriers. So I hope that you will all join us there. I'm going to drop that link in the chat. It's also up on our website under events. And we can hopefully see you all there. So Norman and Jeffrey, thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
And to wrap up, IT it's not a scary experience. It's actually a great experience these days, and you can protect your data.
Yeah.
Awesome. And those of you who are chatting in more questions, I'd love to help offline. We just don't want to take too much of everyone's time. But.
Sorry, I want to do a webinar on just protecting data, keeping data in the ecosystem. I want to just show that one day. Let's do about that. It's great. You can't copy and paste out of it. You can actually keep your data in your ecosystem. Sorry, back to you.
That's great. No, great topic. We'll definitely check back on our events page, and we'll hopefully have a webinar on that soon. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.